Let's dive into this Vuetify here, and if you look to the left over here where we have our menu, you can see you have an array of options to do things, right? Just like you would with material designs or whatever. So IU components is basically what they are in material. So if you want cards, buttons, whatever you really want, they're in this part. But we are going to start in the framework options here, and we're going to look at the grid. Now this can of course be kind of hard to find, and if you are really lazy but you know what you're searching for, then just use the search tool up here. Just type in grid and it gives you the possibilities for this grid, right? And I'm just going to click for this and take me to the grid systems here. Now Vue is building this upon the display flex, and that's how they are building everything around this. But we don't really have to write a lot of code for this to change and move things around just like we would material. We're just going to, we can add some HTML attributes to this to change how it looks, feels, moves, changes depending on size and so on. And of course you can still add all your own CSS to this if you want to just assign an ID or a class, and then you can do whatever you want. You're not limited if you do use Vuetify here. It's totally up to you, but I'm going to use it of course in this one and also in the next couple of sessions, in the session after this one as well. Now to just go through it real quick, this is how it could look, right? 12 column grids that we already know, 6, 6, 4, 4, 4, and so on, right? The code for this looks like this. So it uses something called a V container to start out. So this is also what we copied into our object here. We have our V container here and the V content. So put stuff in here, right? V container is that layer, and here we can declare if it should change depending on size. So medium screens, small screens, extra large screen, extra small screens, and so on, right? Here's extra small. So we use a container to wrap everything into this, and then we have V layout. That's kind of, you could think of this as a row perhaps, maybe, if you want to use them as a row. And this is like the parent element of all the items you want in your HTML. So if you, for example, have a list of products where you want to show them in boxes, you would wrap them inside the layer. And for each of the other one, you can create a card or inside the flex for this. So this controls how the layout is, right? If it's, let's close this one again. So if it's in one column, two columns, or how many rows per, how many columns per item you have in here, and so on. We'll get into that more. And it uses the row wrap here. So if there's space, move them up and so on, right? Then we have flex. It's kind of like an item inside the parent here, or a child element, where we can manipulate how it looks, how it moves, how it changes depending on screen resolution. So these are some of the things we're going to be using quite a lot throughout this video, and card, V card here is just one of the components we can use. But if you scroll past this, you can see down here we have a lot of different information here, right? This is just what we can add to our tags up here. So when we're using this grid system, not only is it built in here, but as you can see in here as well, they have these small things attached to it, like dark, like color, grid list, MD, text, extra small, center, and so on, right? All these things come from this down here. So this is kind of, think of this as a CSS. You already tried this in CSS. So CSS, or what is it called, justify item or justify something, and you would align this to the center or justify center, right? So these things down here just reference to what it's called in CSS as well. So it's not the hardest transition for people more used to CSS compared to those who are more used to coding, right? But go through these and you can see by standard, if nothing else is declared, for example, justify start is false, so it's not set to true. It's probably set to like start at the left position, so over here, right? Start doing the text from this part. Unless you change something, this is default. And if it says true somewhere, it doesn't in this one, I think, then of course that is true. But this is just for the V layout. Then you can check V container, and this is V layout. Then you can do these for this part, and the V flex can do this, and V spacer can do this, right? So what does a spacer mean? It's creating is filling out the empty space. For example, like up here, you have your in icon, there we go, and the name, and then you have this blank space here, and then you have your menu over here. So we can use a spacer to create this space around, so it moves all the stuff over here and controls all the elements. But this is just a real quick introduction on how, and you can of course read more in these parts over here, but how we're going to use it and how we are going to use it going forward in the next couple of videos. See you in the next one.